Hello everyone, I'm Professor Lee of Dr. Anti-Aging and Herbal Medicine TV. The plant we'll be introducing today is Wild Bergamot, also known as Bee Balm or favorite of bee and butterflies. Its scientific name is Monarda Didyma and is a perennial plant in the Laminaceae family. As you can see, it blooms with gorgeous red flowers, making it a star of any summer garden. The round or hemispherical flowers are clustered densely at the end of branches, creating a rich and vibrant atmosphere. The petals are thin tubular structures that rise toward the sky. The long thread-like structures protruding from within are stamen and pistil. Look closely. The brown or purple pollen-bearing structures at the ends are the stamens, and the pistil are slightly longer than the stamens, and with a Y-shaped spilt at the end is the pistil. These structures have evolved to be highly advantageous for insect pollination. The stem, characteristic of Laminaceae family, is square in cross-section, and its surface is covered with fine hairs, giving it a slightly rough texture. The leaves are opposite, oval-shaped with pointed tips, and have serrated edges. And even light lobe of the leaves release a refreshing citrus scent. This scent is so similar to Italian bergamot oranges that it earned the name Wild Bergamot. The large clumps you see now is a single seedling planted 3 years ago, which has grown to over 40 to 50 clumps. The smaller clumps you see in front of it were propagated by division a few months ago. Flowers are blooming on each of the clumps I divided. Let's continue to examine the clumps I divided. They've all grown well, haven't they? While there are few flowers in the first year, from the second year onward, they bloom profusely and grow well. This single parent plant alone has propagated to a staggering 50 clumps. This is the mother plant from which the clumps were removed. Even after removing about 50 clumps, there are still a few dozen remaining. Now, I'll explain how to grow wild bergamot. I'll explain it in 3 ways: sowing seed, dividing clumps, and taking cuttings. The best time to collect seed is in the fall, when the flower stalks are cut and dried. For direct sowing in the open field, the ideal sowing time is mid-September to early October in the fall, and April to May in the spring. Sow in a well-drained, sunny location. Because the plant is full of willows, cover the seed with soil or only slightly. The seed should be fully live around mid-September. If you are growing from seed alone, the entire flower stalk, dry it, and then collect the seeds. I primarily propagate by division, so I don't need a lot of seeds, so I only collect a few at a time. Rubbing the dried ovary reveals small, brown, sesame-shaped seeds. While the germination rate isn't high, a single plant can yield hundreds of seeds. This is what they look like after sowing in the fall and sprouting in April of the following spring. Wow, isn't it cute? When sowing in the spring, germination takes about 1 to 3 weeks. While seed cultivation offers the advantage of mass propagation, it requires careful weed management. Here's what it looks like after months. Has it grown well? It's small in its first year, but it grows very well from the second year onward. Next is the cutting method. This is done in early summer when growth is active. Using clean pruning shears, cut a healthy stem to about 10 to 15 centimeters long and remove the lower leaves. First, plant it in a semi-shaded location with well-drained soil. It'll take about 2 to 3 weeks for root to develop, and the upper leaves will darken and new leaves will begin to emerge. Then you can transplant it to a sunny location. This method requires constant humidity until roots emerge, so it's not recommended for those short on time. Finally, because it's the fastest and most reliable propagation method, I highly recommend it, division. Bergamot plants have well-developed underground stems, so there's plenty to divide. After the first division, dividing every 2 to 3 years will help prevent overcrowding, which is good for pest control and growth. The best time to do this is in March or April, just before new shoots emerge in spring, and in mid-September to early October after the flowers have faded in fall. After uprooting the entire clump, divide the underground stem into 2 to 4 clumps by hands or with a knife. Leave about half of the leaves intact to minimize moisture evaporation. Immediately after dividing, place the clump in a semi-shaded location or soak it in water before planting. Here's what it looks like in mid-April. Numerous underground stems have proliferated from the main stem, and sprouts are just beginning to appear here and there. There are some other plants. Here, the sprouts have grown quite a bit. The best time for spring division is when the sprouts are just beginning to emerge, but even this stage of growth is fine. Let's look at another one. Here, the stems have grown about 10 cm. When dividing this plant, it's a good idea to remove the leaves at the bottom of the stem to reduce moisture evaporation. Now I need to dig up all the root of the parent plant from which I'll divide the clump. Because numerous rhizomes have grown, they'll be quite large when dug up. Since I need to keep digging up the root here and there, it's important to keep them submerged in water to prevent from them drying out. This is what one rhizome looks like when removed. Separate the stems with the leaves and plant them 2 or 3 at a time. Keep this well submerged in water as well. Today's goal is 500 clumps, so I'm continuing this process. Dig up another clump and soak it in water. It's best to do this on a day with forecasted rain, but if not, soak it for a few hours. I made furrows while root was soaking and absorbing the moisture. You can separate the clump by hand, but it's quicker to cut them up a few at a time with pruning shears. These separated roots have soaked up plenty of water, so it's best to plant them right away, right? More than 20 will grow from each clump you dig up. I'll show you what they look like 2 weeks from now after they are all planted. There's been some rain in the meantime, so the roots should be well established and growing well. Wow, can you believe this? 3 years ago, I bought this single seedling for just $1 or $2, and now look at it. It's grown into one big cluster. After digging it up and dividing it this year, just from this one clump alone, I ended up with 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, about 20 to 30 new divisions. So from one small plant, I now have 30. Alright, that wraps up this year's division work. Now, after 3 months, you should see them growing well, right? This is what it looks like now, 3 months after dividing the clumps. Has it grown so well? It's as if it was grown naturally, not just from division. This is why division is said to be the fastest and most reliable way to propagate bergamot. This one also bloomed profusely. The number of plants increased 30-fold, instantly transforming the entire flower bed into a bergamot field. This is the original mother plant from which the clumps were separated. With the clumps now separated, the air circulation seems to have improved, making it healthier. And there's a really important reason I'm so fond of and propagating this plant. In a clinical study conducted by a cardiovascular and preventive medicine researchers at a university hospital in Italy in 2025, involving 120 adults aged 40 to 65, it was proven to improve cellular aging and have anti-aging effect. Following video introduced the recipe. If you are growing bergamot, you'd be remiss not to try it as tea or salad, so be sure to try it.